watched them when we had to watch them coming out at the time, and I think that they both, even the bad ones, give something to, you know, give something to the MCU as a whole. I mean, if you look at a Pepper Potts wearing the rescue, I mean, that was the first time, we've seen a woman in an Iron Man suit, and that was pretty cool. So, those different things, I think, all lead to some credence. And when you look at, when an Endgame and Infinity War roll around, they do kind of tie into some of the different things that are going on there. So
I agree, except for Incredible Hulk. You can skip that one.
I didn't mind the Incredible Hulk as much.
Oh God, brutal. It's brutal, but nevertheless, listen. I mean, I think it's the worst one, but even with it being the worst one, it's still not. It's still better than multiple DCU movies. So yeah, take it like that. So. All right, so anyways, hell of an episode. Let's get to, we have a bunch of people waiting to get up, so I want to talk to Ja first. So Ja, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming through. Thank you for being patient and waiting. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course,
absolutely,
man.
I would just like to say, though, why do you hate the Incredible Hulk? It's underrated. It is underrated. And I'm sorry, this is a hot take, but Edward Norton does a better job at playing Bruce Banner than Mark Ruffalo. They ruined him after Age of Ultron.
No, dude. You know what? My thing is this, right? With the problem that I have with the Incredible Hulk is that, first of all, the Abomination is just that, an abomination. But there's so many aspects of it that are just ultra cheese. And listen, what's his face? He's an amazing actor, and so he does a fantastic job. I think Norton. I do like the nuance that Ruffalo brings. I feel like Ruffalo is more of a nerd, which I want my Bruce Banner as a nerd more than, Edward Norton, plays the nerd too, but he's not really a nerd. He can't really do that. Ruffalo can actually do that. Ruffalo doesn't look like a superhero, and he's bulked up lately, but he doesn't really look like a superhero, whereas Edward Norton, you're like, that dude's a badass. You know what I mean? I like my Bruce Banner, a little bit more nerdy, and so that's one of the reasons I've liked Ruffalo in the role. But you're right, Norton wasn't a bad Hulk. I just thought that the plot, the storyline, kind of stunk. I mean, it wasn't as bad as the original one with Eric Bana.
I forgot. Didn't he? You know what? I don't even want to address it because I'm embarrassed that I actually liked that movie.
Was the first one with Eric Bana?
Yes, the
Nick Nolte or whatever that was?
Yeah, because I remember I would always go to Blockbuster and I would get that movie all the time.
But you know what though? That's okay. So that's okay because how old are you when that happened?
It came out in 2003 when I was born, and
right. See, that's acceptable. See, it's okay. It's all right. See, you saw it as a kid, so that's okay.
In the Incredible Hulk, we get our first look at Thor too. Granted, it's for a split second. Right. But you still get your first look at Thor.
I know. It's fine. Yeah, we keep the Incredible Hulk. It's fine.
But me about it was Samuel Stearns. They never went anywhere with his character.
Yeah, apparently there was supposed to be a trilogy, and he was supposed to be Stearns was supposed to be the main protagonist in the next one, him being the leader, because you see the blood fused with his DNA, so he was gonna end up being the leader, but they never did anything with that.
I would love to see him come back in that role.
But do you guys want to hear my opinion on the episode?
You think he would come back as a leader in She-Hulk?
Probably. I mean, they're bringing it's all they made it so that the Incredible Hulk is canon with this universe, and they brought. I mean, as soon as they brought in General Ross, they're making callbacks to the Incredible Hulk, and they're bringing in Tim Roth as the Abomination again, so it's going they might as well.
That would be awesome if they brought that leader. All right, your thoughts on Falcon Winter Soldier.
So this episode was probably it's funny because as each episode goes on, last episode I was like, that's my favorite episode. Now and the episode before that I'm like, that's my favorite episode. Now this one is my favorite episode of the show. and we get to see a lot more of Sam than Bucky in this episode, and I don't have a problem with how Sam is in the show, but I did say that Bucky was the best character with the best character like arc, but in this episode we got to see more of Sam, and he got to have his moment, and he got to have his scenes with him talking to Isaiah about why America would never accept a black Captain America, or with him just trying to fix the boat with his sister, and him calling old friends from his neighborhood, and them coming out to help him, or him training with the shield, and him getting used to being the new Captain America, which I do like how we get to see him train, and he doesn't automatically just know how to do it. I mean, even though he was throwing it, it was like it wasn't as like fast paced. It was just like he tossed it. It wasn't like how Captain America. It isn't how like Steve would just
gradual
like throw
process.
it. Yeah,
we got to see that build up from him ducking and almost getting hit in the head with it to him being able to wield it and use it as Steve. Yeah, that was great. I really enjoyed that.
The beginning fight scene probably it's definitely one of the best fight scenes in the MCU. I was gasping at like every start when John Walker tore Sam's wings and he was about to like go for the kill. I was like, oh my gosh! When he threw Bucky into that electric and then he was like out for the count. And when they pulled the shield right from his arm and he broke it, like that was actually like that fight was pretty dark. For the MCU being all the way hard, that fight was actually pretty dark.
It absolutely was. And you know what? The other part of that too is that it's a callback really to the end of Civil War when Bucky and Iron Man are fighting Captain America. And so now this is the second time now Bucky's fought Captain America, obviously a different Captain America. But that fight, even though that fight was so hard and they were going at each other hard, right? But they still weren't trying to kill each other. Right? No. They still weren't trying to kill each other. They were trying to hurt each other. They were trying to like take each other out, but they weren't trying to kill each other. John Walker was trying to kill them, right? And so you see the differences there where it's like, okay, yes, it's the same type of fight, but no, it is not the same. Like this dude is out for blood. He's not settling for anything less than that. So I thought that was a really interesting kind of parallel to me. I did find it weird, right? He breaks his arm, fine. How long does it take his freaking arm to get better, dude? The guy's got super serum. Like, what are we doing here? He was in a sling for quite a while, I thought.
I mean, given the fact that this serum it was replicated, at the end of the day, it's not all the way perfected. It's still, yes, it grants you, powers like Steve Rogers, but that, back in the first Avenger, yes, like it worked perfectly fine for Steve, but since then everyone was trying to replicate it. Even General Ross was trying to replicate it, and it turned out to be flawed. So yes, it's gonna kind of like Miles Morales. He has powers like he basically has the same powers and a lot and new additional powers like Peter, but it's like his spider sense isn't, all the way like as effective as Peter's, or, he's not as, he's strong, but he's not, like he's not at like Peter's level. So the super soldier serum does work, but it's not, it's still flawed. If I'm making any sense.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. So we'll see. Do you have an opinion or a theory on who the power broker is?
Honestly, the power broker, I know it's not Sharon because they're trying to make us think that it's Sharon, and it's too predictable. Like I don't think Marvel would want us to watch something that's easily predictable, and we already learned that lesson with WandaVision. So yeah, I feel like the power broker, like you said, it's probably the what was it again?
I like Zola. That's my pick. Zola. Is computer Zola.
I mean, it's just like the thing that I do like is that, and it's kind of consistent with the stuff that's in the MCU that's connected to Captain America. It's showing the flaws of the government. unlike any other Marvel movie that doesn't really talk about the government as much, but with Captain America, who solely, stands for the government, it shows that the government is heavily flawed and it's not 100% trustworthy. And it started with Captain America, the Winter Soldier, how the government was so oblivious to the fact that Hydra was, within the system this entire time, and they were oblivious to what was going on. And then with Civil War, how the government is kind of shady, and they were, implementing rules and being, a lot more harsh with how the Sokovia Accords were. And Steve was, just like, why do I have to follow orders from a government that didn't even know it was corrupted until it was too late?
And
right.
that would have been intensified too if they had the rights and the backlog of everybody else and stories made by everybody else in the original story. So I mean, that would have just been even crazy.
Like even in Civil War, like when Ross was like, showing the destruction that they caused, besides Sokovia, the other stuff really wasn't their fault. Like New York, even with New York, Steve should have said, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't you try to send a nuclear missile to the city? Like, what?
I know. Well, I think, and this is what happens, right? But the government tries to blame someone. So they basically say, like, well, this wouldn't have happened if we didn't have superheroes here in the first place. And so you're at fault for bringing them here in the first place. And so any destruction that happened is on you, essentially, is what is the idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of garbage, obviously, but that's, that's kind of what they do, right? You got to look for a scapegoat somewhere. So, but anyways.
Yeah.
Hey,
overall,
go ahead, man.
But overall, I am enjoying this show. I think it's. I mean, 2 episodes in, I already thought it was better than WandaVision, and it's nothing against WandaVision, but I even though I was never really making fan theories, I was a little let down with how things were turning out, and besides Wanda's story and a little bit of Vision's story as well, it's really kind of bland. It's just and it kind of ties into the fact of comedy. It's with me getting older and watching a lot of the past MCU movies, there's only I do like the comedy, but I would much rather watch a Marvel movie like The Winter Soldier. That's why The Winter Soldier is one of my favorite Marvel movies, because I don't think there was comedy, but it wasn't it wasn't like Avengers comedy or Guardians of the Galaxy comedy. Like it was a pretty serious tone movie, and I feel like the MCU should lean towards that more than trying to be comedic all the time, because this is why I kind of don't really like the MCU Spider-Man movies, because it's just it tries to be like an 80s movie, like an 80s movie. It tries to be like Ferris Bueller or The Breakfast Club, and I have a lot of problems with Spider-Man, and given what the news about Alfred Molina's Doc Ock being basically the villain from Spider-Man 2, I don't want to go into that horrible news, because I was actually genuinely pissed. But I feel like the MCU should be more serious, and hopefully with Loki coming out, it's it can definitely show another example of the MCU can be more more serious and more dark, but and still able to have that comedic those comedic moments.
No, that's a great point. It's a good point, John. And listen, I think it's a legitimate criticism, and it's something we've heard, and I'm sure they've heard too. And listen, I like the comedic relief. Sometimes they go a little bit over the top. I think to me at least, the Guardians movies I think are awesome. I love them. Ragnarok, definitely they went with a ton of comedy there as well, but one thing, Thor Ragnarok was fun, but that worked because you saw that Thor was becoming more and more lighthearted than he was in the first Thor movie. So with Guardians of the Galaxy and Thor, those work because it's supposed to be lighthearted and funny. Especially, at least with the third one. The first 2 were pretty serious, Shakespearean.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, that worked. Even like with the comedy, even though I still am, not a big fan of how they did the Hulk, it was still a good movie, and it